Okay, I'm going to start sewing my cap now. I switched over to a darker fabric so it would be easier for you to see. So I took a dress that I already had, and I thought I would just try and match this outfit all together, so I had a whole outfit. So anyway, I'm using the dark red is corduroy, and the plaid is just regular cotton fabric. And that's what I'll be using for this. So my first step before I even start sewing is I'm going to take my interfacing and I'm going to apply this to my brims. So if you still have your paper on, you want to go ahead and take your paper off. And make sure you're on the outside of the corduroy because you don't want to have it the wrong way. So I'm going to put my iron-on piece on here and line it up. You're going to need a pretty good heat on your iron, so I'm one click past half, and I think that will be sufficient. So let me go ahead and iron this one on. If it doesn't stick well, it just means your iron's not hot enough. Let me get this one off. Another piece of iron on. Okay, I would probably be fine with this with just the two pieces, but because I'm doing the video, I'll go ahead and put a third piece on so you can see how that's going to work. So I'm just going to take another piece of iron on and put it on either side. It doesn't matter because we're just going to sew them all together anyway. Okay, so now we've got our right sides, our two pieces of interfacing on one, our right sides, and one piece of interfacing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these together, and I'm going to sew right across here. So let me get my, put this away and get my sewing needles, my pins, which I forgot. Okay, so I've got red thread on my machine, and I'm using 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, and I'm just going to sew that around. If your needle is skipping stitches, you probably want to go to a heavy-duty needle, at least on the brim part. But it's really not that much, so you probably won't have any problems, even if it's corduroy fabric. Alright, so we want to cut that. Cut off our two ends here. Take our pin out. And we do not want to trim these edges because we want this thickness around the outside. If it was a piece of clothing that you would wear, you'd probably want to trim these edges, but not for this because you want that thickness. So all we're going to do is just make a couple clips here so that it doesn't look funny on the other side when we turn it inside out. Just around the curve. Okay. Good enough. There's one more. And now we're going to turn it inside out. And we're going to push that out. So it is See how you can see the little cuts in the inside, how they're folding in on each other. So that's what we want. Okay, we want to shape it. Okay, if you can't get it out, you can poke it in the inside here and get it so it's all even around the outside. Usually it just comes right out, but you might have a little resistance here and there. Okay, so now you've got your brim pretty much done, but we're going to put a little stay stitch here, just basically so that it's easy to sew this brim when we get to the cap. So I don't want this 1/4 of an inch because my seam's going to be 1/4 inch, so I'm going to move my needle position all the way over to the right, and I'm going to just put a stay stitch in here. And hopefully you can get past. Ah, my bobbin's off. Okay, well it's still sewed. So, and that's just for a stay stitch anyway, so there's not a real problem there. But let me fix my bobbin. Yep, bead's all wrong. So I'm going to go back to my middle again. My bobbin around correctly. And when you hear funny noises like that, that's usually, you know something's wrong with your machine. In my case, my bobbin unthreaded itself. Okay, so now we've got that done. This is pretty much your brim. If you want, you can do your, excuse me, I got a little tickle in my throat. You can do your stay stitching. I did it on all of these, and the reason I did that is just to keep the brim down where I want it. So I'm going to do it on this red corduroy also. So I'm just going to go 1/4 of an inch, and I'm going to sew all the way around the outside lip of this brim. It might not come out like I liked it to, so I'm going to give it a little tug there. Okay, you're at the point now where if you were going to do decorative stitching, you would have done it instead of that top stitching there. You could have done any kind of your decorative stitches and gone around the brim. You could still do it. I could change my thread right now to a different color, white. If I wanted to put white, I could go ahead and put white thread on and do any of my, I could do a flower design, a leaf design, any of the designs that I have available on my sewing machine. I could just go ahead and do that right now. And that would look really cute if I did a contrast in the white to go around here in any kind of design. I could even do like a plaid looking design, which would be really cute to do, but I'm not going to do it for this video, but this is where you would do it if you were going to do that. Okay, so I'm still set at excuse me, half of dead center. My needle's still dead center, so my seams are going to be 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to start my cap part. Just make sure that when you're sewing them together, you use your the right sides together when you're putting your cap together. So I'm going to sew three on this. I'm going to do half of the cap and then I'm going to do the other half. So this part I'm going to start with my right side of my corduroy against my right side of my, and this plaid, there is no right or wrong. Okay, so we're going to just go ahead and do that and put a 1/4 of an inch seam in. Okay, let's do that. Oops. A little jammed in there. Let's straighten it out. Okay, we are not going to sew all the way. We're going to stop at a 1/4 of an inch from the edge. So when we're sewing, we're going to stop right there on our sewing machine. We're not going to sew to the very edge. Okay, you can mark it if you have to with a pencil or something, or a pin, whatever makes it easier on you. That's sort of jammed up on me. But you want to stop at a 1/4 of an inch from the edge. See how I got a 1/4 of an inch there between the two? I have only gone up to there. Okay, so my next one is going to be a piece of red corduroy, so I'm going to take my paper off. And I'm going to I have my right sides together. I'm going to put in seam number 2. Same thing, I'm going to stop a 1/4 of an inch from the top. Stitch. Too far. Okay, no, I'm good. Okay, so this is half. So before I go to do anything else, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my side seams in this, my top stitching on this half, because I'm going to do my top stitching, I'm going to sew the other half together, and then I'm going to sew both of the pieces together. So to do my top stitching, I'm just going to open this up, and I'm going to spread my seams out. You can just finger it, you don't have to pin it or anything, just get them so they're spread out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my sewing machine and I'm going to put my needle all the way to the right. And I'm going to take this seam here and I'm going to put that dead center in the middle of my pressure foot. And that's how I'm going to determine how far from each of my, the edge on each of my seams from my center seam. And that will give you an even stitch all the way around the hat. It'll be even everywhere. So that's what you want to do. So you want to pick a spot and stick with it. So in my case, I'm going to put my center of my seam right down the middle of my pressure foot, and I'm going to put my needle all the way into the right position. So as I sew, I'm going to keep my middle seam right in the center of my pressure foot. side done. So now I'm going to do the other. So I can start at the top and work my way down, or I can take my needle and open that up and put it all the way over to the left side of my machine, and you're going to get the same exact results. As long as you keep those positions in the same way. But here I'm just going to go from the top and work my way down. I could tell I lost my, something jammed on me. Let me take these out. Okay, why did that happen? Let's try it again. Top to bottom. Okay, seam down the middle. Okay, and now you've got a nice finish on your cap. Now had I say I did a bright green, you'd be able to see the green stitching on each side of these, but because I'm using the same color thread, you're not going to see any of the seams. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera off, and then when I come back I'm going to have both pieces done, and then I'm going to show you how to put them together. Okay, I'll be back.